I smiled a lot this last week. And maybe the week before. Time is confusing. And I'm going to share with you a small handful of the things that made me smile that particularly pertain to this YouTube channel, because otherwise, it'd be far too much information. I recently saw a handful of new indie animated shorts on the interwebs, specifically the platform that we are all watching this right now, YouTube, that I thought were really charming, fun, or actually even straight up heart-wrenching, and made me cry, really cry, and think about my life, and made me want to change elements of how I lived in the everyday and what I prioritized as my values. It wasn't a very low-key happy. You may or may not have seen any or all of these. I don't know what you do. You don't leave enough comments. Leave comments. So I'm going to share with you the 3 most interesting ones that I saw recently, and analyze a little bit about what made them great, and encourage that you see them or give you lines of reasoning to explain to other people why they should see them. I'm going to start with the one that you've most likely already seen just based on pure population size, and that is the Helluva Boss short, number 1, Hell's Bells. This follows the story of Millie and her sister Sally Mae, not the evil lone corporation that is responsible for me for the last 10 years. No, of course I am referring to the rough Southern belle and Millie's family who came to visit Millie in the city, the Pride Ring, for the first time. The short very simply follows their day hanging out together and closes with a touching moment where Sally Mae shares her feelings with Millie about being sort of abandoned by her. Millie left the small town lifestyle for, quote, bigger things, and Sally wonders if there's still room in Millie's life for her and her family. Pretty simple concept, so what was good about it? Well, the first thing that I want to say is just the fact that they're doing these shorts at all. It's helping with the pacing of the release schedule of the overall show. The YouTube series Helluva Boss, which this short is a contribution to, has big breaks in episodes, and this was some great character development for Millie and her sister to give us something to be excited about whilst breaking up the long in-between moments that we have for the release schedule. And this was listed as short number 1, so I'm assuming that there's more to come, and I'm excited for that because this was really fun, and I think shorts are something that I get a lot of enjoyment out of, especially when they're part of an overarching thing that's going on. And one of the great things about this short is its role that it has in the overarching series as a whole. We've only seen Millie's family once in the series so far, and I'm assuming that there's going to be more of them in the future. And if that is the case, then this short is doing a great job of reminding us how Millie feels about her family dynamic and tying, that aspect of her character back into the story when we really haven't gotten much from it with everything else going on with Blitz and Stolas and all of these other intricate plot lines that they've been weaving throughout the series so far. So it's a good refresher on some of the character dynamics going on. It's a nice checkpoint in between episodes that are being released. And the fact that it's kind of being teased as the first short is pretty exciting. I think that's fun for anybody who's a fan of the series. But secondly, even if you're not actually a huge fan of Helluva Boss and you haven't been following it, it's just a really sweet short. Though we do know about Millie's character already, we don't actually know anything about Sally Mae. And this gives us a clear sense of who she is and how close the sisters have been, even though we haven't really seen much of it on screen before. They have great chemistry together, and it was super fun to see them having a blast in the show, as well as having a slow emotional moment at the end, where they get to kind of quiet down and talk about how they're feeling about their place in life right now. And another thing I love about their dynamic, it's just a lot of fun to see these two really powerful characters doing a bunch of fun shit and beating up on asshats like this guy. And the bartender's reaction here was totally perfect too. Just tearing it up in the city, being these rowdy, rambunctious group of people. I swear that some of the characters in the series are just so charming and fun that it almost makes me want to live in hell rather than your average American city. And speaking actually of hell as the location, the Pride Ring that we saw them hanging out in, the short gives a lot of extra flavor of the city and just a little bit more of the, the vibes of how people interact and what the city life is kind of like, which we've only gotten small tastes of really. There's a lot of Helluva Boss actually takes place in other locations, so I think that was actually really fun too. By the way, have you ever actually wondered if you'd want to live in hell?
Huh?
Sinners are desperate.
maybe desperate enough to try anything.
Well, if you're like me and you have wondered, because you wonder about a lot of very strange things, specifically wondering about living in the Helluva Boss universe or maybe any other cartoon world or universe that's been constructed by some of your favorite creators, then you might like our new podcast, the Jester Bros Cartoon Travelers, which will be going on regularly on the channel from here on out. Make sure to subscribe and check it out if you haven't. We have episode 1 already there, and by the time this video comes out, I don't know if we'll have more yet. And my brother is back for those that have been following the drama of the channel and whether or not we like doing this anymore. Which right now we do, especially because right now I'm talking about things that I seriously enjoyed in the animated shorts department. And as nice as the Helluva Boss one was, I think that it works the least as a standalone short with like isolating it from the series. I'm not trying to say that it's bad, obviously I just praised it a bunch, but out of all the other ones that I'm talking about right now, I think the next one does its best as a standalone short, and this one I think you might not have seen before. I'm talking about the Everything Is Okay show, a short film by Studio Filmpo. I think that's how you say it. This emotional masterpiece actually had me crying, even though it's only 5 minutes long. And people, though I love to cry at deeply emotional works of art, I'm a desensitized, dopamine-starved creature of the internet, much like lots of you, and it's not very easy to make me feel things anymore. So I give the short a ton of credit. I just need to say that before even getting into it so you know, because I'm not going to fully explain what it is because I don't want to spoil it. Here's me probably explaining too much anyway. The first awesome thing about this is the thought-provoking premise. The story revolves around a talk show, or a game show potentially, that takes place in some purgatory-like realm where the guests are people who have just died. Enter Marcel, voiced by Terrence Griffin, a young artist who was just killed by a truck.
Roll the clip!
In this philosophy student thought experiment wet dream, the Everything Okay show takes on the recently deceased and gives them a chance to complete their lives' true final wish. It forces the audience to ask the question to themselves, what do you really value in life? What would you truly want to do as your last act in life if you really had the chance to do it with some magical power? Think about it for a second, and if you feel like sharing, let me know in the comments. I'd be really interested to hear what you have to say. Now, I will not dare spoil any more of where the plot goes from that point on. I'm just gonna say that it is a beautiful and life-affirming message, and I absolutely recommend everybody see it. I actually discovered Studio Filmpo on Instagram, and I was charmed by the personality of the members and their videos that they were making, explaining how the animation process works in a new indie studio, and you know, the struggles that they have, and different aspects of the, you know, technical aspect of how it's being done.
Hi, I'm Milo.
I'm Ren. I'm Reed.
And we're starting an animation studio in our basement.
After we graduated animation school, the industry wasn't looking so great.
So, in an effort to stay employed and alive, we're starting Studio Filmpo, a bona fide indie animation studio.
Right now we're working with small clients, but we're saving up so that we can make our own stuff one day.
And I was excited to see this project because I've been following them on social media, and honestly I wasn't expecting something this spectacular in the voice acting, animation, and story department. I felt like I was resonating with them as people and enjoying their characters they presented themselves in social media, which is a small fraction of who you actually are as a person. I just want to clarify that. You don't know me. My most major points of praise outside just the concept being great and the emotional gravity of the story itself is the voice acting and animation were really good. And I don't want to say, like, especially for a small indie studio, because I think that actually really undercuts what they do, and I think I also don't actually know enough to give a compliment like that. But what I will say is my expectations going into it were not that it was going to be as amazing as I think that it is. And it blew my mind with what it ended up being. I got so much from what this guy's life was about and what he was about in his living life from the moments that he was reflecting upon during death. I got a lot of character out of the show host, who's very fun, and is exactly what I would expect in actually, like, a really existential being to be like. Because existentialism, a lot of people think it's like, they confuse it with nihilism, that nothing matters, woe is me. I might as well do anything because nothing matters, you know, and you get all depressed about it. That's not actually what existentialism is about. I actually have a philosophy degree, I'm not making this up. Existentialism is a more life-affirming practice, which is we don't know what's going on. There's a good chance we're never going to know what's going on, whether there's life after death or anything like that, or if there's integral meaning. So we should do our best to make meaning out of our lives and live to the fullest with what we do know that we have. And that morals aren't relative, they're actually integrally satisfying, and we want to treat people well and love each other because it's just a fantastic thing to do and it feels great. No reason to get all hung up on how, what life could be and all of the, what ifs of where we go when we die and, does any of it really matter questions, because at the end of the day, we are here and we should make the most out of it. And that is a lot more funny. It sounds like,
oh, I'm taking it so seriously.
No, you laugh a lot with that kind of perspective. They call it the cosmic giggle in some of the works that I've read. This game show host has that profound cosmic giggle vibe to me. I don't know if any of that makes sense, but you know what? I don't fucking care. I'm having my own cosmic giggle with this video. This is a great show concept, and I really hope that it gets expanded upon and does really well. And even if it doesn't, the short made me really excited to see what this studio is going to come up with next. So go give them a subscribe, check them out, follow them on Instagram and all that. I'm even going to leave their links in the description so that you can go see them and all the videos that I'm talking about today. And honestly, it's so good. It's really what made me want to make this video and let you know by putting it in the same video as these other shorts that I do think it's, comparable if not better than those. Or at least I like it. This short gave me a moment of clarity and inspired me to live more mindfully because we really don't know when everything will come to an end and what's happening from there. And any work of art that can lead to such a profound feeling, I feel like is worth sharing. But next up, on a slightly less heavy note, but still a really good note, is the new Lackadaisy short, Lackadaisy Ingenui. I think that's how it's pronounced. This was way more cute, charming, and good feeling than it had any right to be. This is a follow-up short to the successful pilot Lackadaisy, which I also highly recommend you see if you haven't yet. The overarching story follows a gang of cats, or maybe multiple gangs of cats, operating a speakeasy during the Prohibition era. As for the short itself, I'm just gonna read directly from the description of the YouTube video because it does a really good job. Lackadaisy Season 1 kicks off with a look at the past. 1921, and young Ivy Pepper is introduced to her godfather's mysterious retinue. I can't read. And to fill in the blank, the mysterious it's a gang. Cool, we cleared that up. So why was this one so good? First of all, Ivy Pepper is obviously a child, and they are being introduced to this very rough group of gang members. And they are absolutely precious, and their role in this short provides an incredible sense of humor.
He told him not to roller skate in the house.
He roller skates?
Not very well.
They are a child that's slowly figuring out that the adults that they're hanging around are probably into some rougher things than they maybe initially thought. Seeing these gruff villain types soften up and play silly around the emboldened Ivy Pepper was really fun. I think the rewatchability of this short might be more than any of the other ones on this list today. Next good thing is the voice acting. They all give the perfect amount of personality and tone for their characters. And I'm personally a really big fan of the villain character, Mordecai's voice actor, Sunwung Cho. He gives the perfect amount of serious vibes, being disturbed by the innocent childishness that is hilariously immune to such seriousness.
What do you need the gun for if you're just adding numbers?
I subtract numbers too.
And the way Victor's voice actor plays a gruff but soft inside mobster is so charming, especially when they're interacting with Ivy.
Did you lose your eye in the war?
No. Bad time with ice cream scoop.
No!
It's malfunctioned.
Ivy is obviously fantastic too. They play off all these characters really well, and even if you're not into the Lackadaisy series, I think you're really gonna love this short. I also find the style to be very enjoyable. This is partially a note for the concept of the series as a whole, but it's especially noticeable here. The way everyone talks, the outfits, the slight background music, it all really ties the whole vibe of what they're trying to do together. Not to mention, I can tell they've really cleaned up the animation from the original pilot. Not to say that the original was bad or anything, but I could just tell that it was just a little bit more polished. Obviously, it's shorter, they've had a lot of time and probably more of a budget to work on it, but I noticed it, and I thought it looked really good. I think this is really cool to see whether you're a fan of animation in general, a fan of the pilot and approaching series, or just a fan of seeing some really good one-off art. And lastly, on that note, It's the kickoff to season 1. I'm really excited for the series to develop. I love jazz. This is just something that's really up my alley. It's really fun to see a bit of the backstory and lore being developed. Like, we know a bit about these characters, but I have a lot of questions of how they ended up in the situation that we now know, especially seeing, like, Victor used to roll with Mordecai. Well, how did that work out? How are they where they are now? You know, there was a line in the pilot over Mordecai getting soft, over sentimental, over good... Just play the clip. I don't remember exactly what it said.
Oh, you don't like how we play? How about you stop spectating and throw in, Chef? Or do we have to worry about you getting sentimental about old times?
So this short, I feel like is teeing us up for what I hope is a very soon episode 1, and it got me hyped. It did what it needed to do. I'm really excited to see it. I'm falling in love with these characters, and I don't know, I'm just really excited about all of these. It makes me feel like the state of animation is in a good place. Has-Been Hotel and Helluva Boss has led a lot of people to get more interested in indie animation and projects that aren't just like huge studios, and I'm really glad that I'm someone that's gone down that path, because I think that there's a lot of brilliant stuff out there, and I've been really enjoying going down the rabbit hole. So on that note, that's pretty much all I have to go over today. Leave some comments if you have any other ones that you want to recommend to me. I don't know if I'll make a video about it, but I'd love to watch them. I just am a fan. And tell me about some of your favorite things that you've seen recently, whether they're shorts, other animated projects. I just want to know what you have to say. Thank you all so much for hanging out. Don't forget, we've got more of the podcast stuff coming soon if you're into that, and I'll see ya probably never, because this is a one-sided mirror. Bye, everybody!